Welcome to the Autistic Culture Podcast Advocacy Edition. In these episodes, we tackle the issues that matter most to autistic people.
Each week, we share our insights and the experiences of our guests on how to live authentically and thrive as autistics.
I'm Dr. Angela Kingdon, the linguistic autistic.
And I'm Matt Lowry, licensed psychological practitioner. Let's dive into strategies for living your best, most authentically autistic life.
Episode 84, Neurodivergent Narratives. Hey, Matt.
Hey, Angela.
We are talking about my favorite topic today, writing.
Oh, that's a good one.
I actually don't know. How do you feel about writing? Do you write at all? Have you ever kept a journal? Did you hate doing papers at school? Did you love them? What's your writing story?
But you should know because we're working on the book. But
right.
I
know you're a good writer. When I read your stuff, it flows, it's beautiful, you make great points.
When it comes to nonfiction, I'm very much a bullet point person, and I say this, and this. When it comes to fictional stuff, I have a rich, elaborate universe of characters in my head that I can't quite get out on paper.
Because there's so much.
Yeah, exactly. It's, again, Lord of the Rings style, where you have an entire universe in there, and the history of everything goes back 5,000 years. And, just finding a way to make that into a coherent narrative so that people will want to read it and be interested in the minutiae of why the language has this dialect and this language does not.
In general, do you find writing to be a task that you sometimes have to complete that you don't mind? Or do you find it to be something that gives you energy and is something you're driven to do? I can't wait to write about this day at the park or whatever.
I am very much driven by the creation process, but forcing my meat hands to turn my brain things into words, that is the task for me, because I get especially when typing or writing, my arms and hands get tired really, really fast.
Oh, wow.
And if I was to, dictate literally when we talk about the stuff for the book, I'm able to dictate and tell you all these ideas and generate the ideas nonstop. And I love generating ideas and I love getting the words out. But the usage of the meat body to translate, this into written form, that's what tasks me. If I could just translate, if I could plug a word processor directly into my brain, I would generate book upon book upon book like Stephen King. Right. But it's the matter of using my my inferior meat body to do this. But you can do
voice to text. You just need a good editor that's working with you. But voice to text is the way a lot of people
The voice
create.
to text is interesting. I tried voice to text for because again, in my line of work, we have to do a lot of note taking, right? For every time you meet a client, you got to write a note. And when I was working community mental health, we had to do the DAP, description, analysis, plan, sort of note, where you have to write up what happened in the session, what your impression of the session, what you're going to do in next session, what the treatment goals are, etc. So every note took 10, 15 minutes. So I tried voice to text stuff on there, but it got really, really wonky because, again, I talk fairly fast and I don't know if I mumble or what. But for instance, the most notable about this was I was dictating a note. And I said, recommended that client engage in enjoyable activities. And what it heard was recommended that client engage in enjoyable black titties.
No, Matt, no.
Yes. So I was like, oh, well, that's also a good idea, but okay.
No.
Yeah. So, yeah, the voice to text is interesting, and that's another thing, because when I type fast, when I was doing Jesse's eval, I type like crazy, but my fingers are clumsy as hell, and sometimes it gets a word wrong. Like I would type down the word MOHTER instead of mother, and autocorrect would want to change it to crotome for some reason because crotome is a more acceptable word than mother. I
Because you
don't
use crotome a lot? Is that
I don't
something
even know what
you...
the word crotome means. I don't know if
Right.
it's like whoever, like if they
I
outsource
don't
this to,
understand their decisions. They're like,
yeah,
he uses this word all the time. No, I don't. What are you
yeah.
talking about?
So the cleanup process is a very unenjoyable task. So again, when someone like you comes along and says, "Hey, I'll edit that for you and turn all the instances of crotome back into mother and fix all that sloppy stuff," it makes it much easier for me because I love generating content, but getting it out of my brain is the tricky part.
Right, right, right.
I
Yeah,
try, but here we are.
yeah. I think,
WRITE. WRITE.
uh,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
There,
I see what you
puns.
did there.
Yay,
Yeah.
puns! Yay.
Also good for writing. Yeah, I think a lot of people have challenges with writing, but this drive to create, this drive to write, and then just a lack of clarity on how to do it.
Yeah.
Um,
The focus, the clarity. Oh, God.
right?
Again,
Like, what am I going to specifically write about? When am I going to write it? You can't write every single page of your book at the exact precise moment in time.
yeah.
You have to like map it out and do it in stages. And that, for whatever reason, the way my unique brain is, mapping out book projects is like it's like setting up tents for people who understand camping, which I could never possibly set up a tent. Like, it
I've
just,
seen
my
them.
brain
It's
gets
some
it.
sort of outdoor wizardry.
Yeah, that's what it looks like to me. And I think like once you take a book project and you break it up into stages and steps, and each of those steps is an hour to 2 hours long, then you might have 40, it's usually somewhere between 30 and 100 2 hour sessions to write a book.
Wow.
So I make these book mappers for my clients, and we break their project up into 30 to 100 1 to 2 hour sessions. I tell them how long the session is, what the writing prompt is, what time it's due, and then they have the accountability of like sending it to me,
Yeah.
right? So if you're just trying to write an essay, that might only be like, we might have a meeting and talk about what the essay is, and then you might have a 2 hour writing session, and then you send it to me, and maybe I have some notes for you, and you have another 2 hour session. If you're doing a whole book, that can take 40 to 80 hours of actually working on it. But most people can't do the breaking the book up into steps
Yes.
part.
Well, that's like the whole moving thing. Doing it one box at a time instead of just throwing everything out into the floor and not knowing where everything goes.
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like, even unpacking groceries can be super overwhelming if you don't have a system for it. It's
Yeah.
going to take you a lot longer. Like, I have a very specific system for unpacking groceries, and it's super fast because I know what the system is. So a lot of people think with writing, they're just going to write and eventually they'll end up with a book. And it
Yeah.
just doesn't tend to work out that way. I'm
No.
not saying it never does, but even when it does, it's very inefficient.
Yes.
So that's how I like ended up creating a business. Like, I don't even know exactly how this happened. I got my first job working on books when I was still 20 years old. I wrote my own first book. I actually wrote while my friend Mandy was watching Fraggle Rock
Uh,
in 1979, I believe. And it was called The Wedding, but I remember wanting to call it The Marriage, but I couldn't spell marriage. So I
yeah.
went with wedding. So yeah, and it was about a gay wedding because I didn't know that wasn't a thing. My like
Writing science fiction for the day.
Yeah, that I could only draw girls, or alternatively, it was just more fun to draw girls because you could draw dresses and legs were hard and a suit was hard. So I just decided weddings were cool. I wanted to do a book about a wedding. And then I wanted 2 bridal dresses, not one, because they're fun. And so it was like a lesbian wedding, and that's fine. And Mandy's parents, well, actually, Mandy's mom was like a super Bible thumper, born again Christian.
Oh, fun.
So I think she was also my Girl Scout leader and very alarmed about what my future was going to look like after that
Involving
creation.
multiple dresses, apparently.
Yeah, and ladies, it's true.
Yeah.
So, so that was my first book. Then at 13, I wrote a book that started a question to ponder once more and forever. She's like a
Is
very
that the title of the
profound.
book?
That was just the first line. The
Oh, all
question, the
right.
book was called Soul Searching, which is very important. And then I have the book of poetry that I wrote, which I might even have here. I wrote a book of poetry when I was 7. Here it is.
Oh.
And this has the very appropriate title that all 7-year-olds would come up with: Lifelong Chances.
The ripe
Right?
old age of 7.
I'm not sure why. And then where is my poem about? All of these poems are about friendships falling apart and me being confused about why. For instance, here is this gem written in 1984. Kids, sometimes we get along great. Other times we just can't relate. Why is it like this? I don't really know. But keep holding me closer and don't let me go.
Oh.
It was very nice. I don't know why I
That's
was
a yeah.
writing about that, but that's what I was writing about.
Like all neurotypicals would, you know.
Right. Here's one. Tight bonds, loose strings, love, indifference, desire, confusion. I can't believe I loved you.
Oh.
That I wrote that when I
Who
was
is that about?
12. I believe Kevin Grace, who maybe died of a drug overdose.
Oh.
Yeah. So I don't know who I'm loving or why, but precocious writer.
No kidding.
Precocious writer, yes, indeed. And kind of just became a career. Like I didn't mean for it to. And I think this happens with a lot of us with our special interests, is it becomes a career. But when your special interest which I think is good, but when it becomes a thing you're making money on, it changes how you interact with it. So basically there are 3 reasons why people write books. People write books to make money selling books. So I originally,
the neurotypical motivation.
yes, but I originally got hired by famous, well-known investigative journalists in Washington, D.C., who hired me as their researcher and editor on books where they were getting major book contracts from traditional book publishers. So this is a very normal reason to write books and be interested in writing, but they weren't always the books I wanted to do. For instance, I accidentally became an espionage expert. I worked for a lot of authors who wrote about espionage. Now, that wouldn't have been my special interest, but I was able to kind of use my monotropic flow, and I was interested enough that it became a special interest, even though it wasn't necessarily my thing. And that made me really valuable. But I wasn't writing my books. I wasn't writing what I wanted to write. I wrote a book on the First Amendment. For like 10 years, I did a book called The World Almanac of American Politics. And so
Wow. All right.
it was before the internet, but it basically was the internet. It was every single congressman and senator, their phone number, their address, their email address, a description of their district. the major bills they'd introduced, how they'd voted on things, and I like kept this huge database.
Yeah.
And then reporters would use it to look up, oh, what did that whatever congressperson vote for on certain things. So I did that for a long time. You could see how it's using my autistic skills and my interest in writing, but it's just like not what I'm really wanting to write about.
Yeah.
So then I started my own business, and I was a freelancer. Then I started Difference Press, which is my publishing company. And that went to the second reason why people write. So the other reason why people write, and it was easy to get them to pay me to help them with these books, is to grow something else that's making money.
Yeah.
So if they're therapists, sometimes they want to have a course, they want more clients, they want to get paid for speaking, they want to kind of grow their profile in the industry. And so that is what I do. I work with therapists and some academics, lawyers, some doctors. And the goal is, really for them to make money, not from their book, but from the other things that come out of their book. So the way I work with them is I break up the book. I help them figure out what is the book project. I break it up into these tiny little steps for them. And then I look at each chapter as they write it, or sometimes they pay me to actually write the chapters for them, which is very cool, but still not my books.
Yeah.
And so then the third way, which is how all of my writing started, is when you're writing just for fun, just for self-expression, just to create for the sake of it. And so that is why my focus this year is really on writing for fun again.
That's
And we've
awesome.
got this cool thing. I'm gonna do a little training today.
Yeah.
But then for our paid members, we've got a cool program for the year of a virtual writing circle where we can all do this together. Matt, I'll let you in on it too. But the goal is for us to take time to write every week, not for some goal, not to make money, not to sell books, not to get a TV show, not to get a speaking gig, but to write because the act of writing is cathartic,
Yeah.
is creative, is life affirming, if it is for you. Now, it's not for everybody, right?
I do love the act of creation.
Yeah. So the first thing I want to say is like, this is not the lessons that I'm about to teach, I think can help everyone. But I'm not saying for everyone to do this, but if you want to write more, if you want to be more committed, the way you get better is by writing more.
Yeah.
That's the whole secret. And so you probably have a project, you're trying to figure out like a complex project that you're a challenge to figure out how to map that project. This isn't about that, although you can hire me separately to do that, but that's not what this is. This is about the practice of writing to just reconnect with your authentic self. And when you do this, it's like doing swim drills or soccer drills. It's not the game, it's not
Yeah.
your book. Some of this might go in the book, but it's going to make you such a better writer when you sit down to do that bigger project. You're going to be much more authentic, much more connected, and a much better writer. So these are writing exercises. If you love something, you are welcome to publish it, and I'll talk about the different ways you can do that. But the point isn't to publish or to sell it or submit it. The point is just to write with a little bit of structure.
That's good.
So, yeah. I also, the other thing I want to say about this is you don't have to be a good writer.
That's
I
good. That's good because if you wait until you're a good writer, you might not get anything out at all.
Yeah, and the thing is, people, first of all, there's no such thing as a good writer. There is probably such a thing as a bad writer, but like everyone has their own taste. But even if you genuinely suck, and we would all agree, you have a million problems with your writing, you're barely literate. If you find it enjoyable and fulfilling, write anyway. Like, again, this doesn't have to be your new career. This is not, we're not trying to win a book prize. If it helps you, for a lot of people, writing, and for me, a lot of my therapy was really done through journaling. So when I was in therapy at one point at the beginning, I did traditional psychoanalysis 3 times a week, 7 a.m. And every single time I went to therapy, I would journal after my session.
Yeah.
And none of that got used. It didn't get published, but it helped me figure out like who I am and what I was learning, and it helped me integrate that work. So if you're
Unpack all of
going,
your brain.
yeah, and you can't always do that with another person, especially those of us that are verbal processors. Is there a
Yeah.
thing about that? I think I saw TikTok about verbal processors.
Well,
Um,
for instance, at least my take on it is that when we have a lot of thoughts inside our brain, they're nebulous and not really defined. But when we are forced to go through the act of translating it to communicate it to another person, that's where we truly find our idea. And there's one theory that thought doesn't even exist on its own because if you're just sitting there ruminating, it's not even like fully formed thoughts, but you have to be able to uh, thought exists in the act of communication, the act of sending it to another human being. So when you write, it gives you that the formulaic the formulation of the thoughts. So
I
it
always
can
say
be
you
really
have to
helpful for
get
verbal
to
people.
the end of the thought.
Yeah,
A
yeah.
lot of people have like the beginning of 5 thoughts and a general sense they are connected, which they're right about. But you have to actually be able to get to the end of the thought to finish the piece. Because a piece, even if we're writing a small poem like the ones I read you before, they need a beginning, a middle, and an end.
There's a
So
Michael Scott quote from The Office that says when sometimes when I start off talking, I don't know where it's going to go. We just find our way along the way. And, it's, yeah, I mangled
yeah,
the quote, but yeah, it's the same thing.
right. And so that's what I actually recommend with writing is like, let it be random at first and then see if you can find it and make it more and more linear through the editing process. Sometimes having no filter, no one watching you, no third eye of just like thinking something all the way through, you'll be like, oh, actually, here's a simpler way to do that. Sometimes you're like, oh, that doesn't actually work.
Yeah,
Like, I thought that worked. But we don't allow ourselves to get to the end of the thought because we have so many fucking thoughts
yeah.
happening at one time. So this just really helps you clarify your thoughts. So I have 10 benefits to writing for neurodivergent people
I love
that I
bullet
want to
lists.
share.
Yay.
10 points. Okay, so the first one is we love scripted language. I don't know how you do scripted language, but I am a dork and I write my scripts.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
pretend I'm not going to, but I use notes. I have over 10,000 notes on my phone.
Of course.
And I say the script over and over in my head so much, and then I can't think about anything else because I'm trying to remember it, that I'm like, let me just write it down. And then I write it down, and then I end up editing it.
Yeah, yeah,
But I'm scripting all the time. Like, and that example I gave you was about a recent doctor's office visit, which, like,
yeah,
thank God I had scripted. But I kept like for days going, I have my first doctor's appointment. What's it going to be like? I don't know what it's going to be like. Let me imagine it. Let me write down what I'm going to say. What are they going to say? And
yeah,
then I'm
yeah,
like, it's just easier if I write it down. And then I was able to pull up my script because it wasn't going the way I planned. And I was like, oh, maybe we could do my script.
yeah, yeah. And that's the way that we do things. It's the Gestalt processing there because you have to bring it into the present and work on this hypothetical because it causes you anxiety. So you're trying to work through and take care of all the variables, and here we are.
Right. So I do think for those of us who have shame around scripting, what is fun to play with is having a character that scripts.
Yeah.
Writing a character that isn't ashamed of scripting. That doesn't, you don't have to change your opinion. You can be ashamed if you would like to choose that, but play around with writing a character that loves scripting and it works for them and doesn't backfire like it does sometimes on me.
Take a piece of yourself and flesh them out into a character.
Yeah. And especially I always like to play with things I don't like about myself. So the
Ah,
thing I hate most about myself in the world is I go really quickly into freeze mode. So when people say
yeah,
like I'm great in a crisis, I am not. If you are in a crisis and you see me, run away unless you would like to take care of me. I will be baggage. You will need to carry me on your back. I'm very fucking heavy and I'll probably complain the whole time or just scream, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, this is really bad.
yeah,
I hate this about myself. I just, nothing. My IQ drops to zero. My
yeah.
executive functioning drops to zero. I have no skills in a crisis, none.
The emotional overload hits you, and you don't have the logic necessary to perform the things that you need to do.
Yeah. So one of the ways I've used writing as part of my own, I don't know, loving my inner child. This was actually a Jungian therapist I did this with.
Yeah.
But I wrote about me freezing in a crisis as a character. She made me name her, and I named her Dolly Dimples, which is what my grandmother called me, and having compassion
Oh,
for that character. And that was
I
easy to
like
do for
that.
somebody else. Like nothing about me wanted to write like this person's a loser. I was like, oh, this terrible thing happened. She goes into freeze. She needs help.
Yeah.
She has supportive people around her who help her, and they're glad they can because when they're not in a crisis, she is amazing at all of these things.
Well, that's the thing
So,
about the learned internalized ableism, because you beat yourself up for stuff that you can't do, but you have compassion for others. And when you externalize those pieces of yourself, you're able to be more compassionate to yourself.
right. So that's my number one is like finding a place of compassion about something you do that you're not okay with yet by writing a character. So that's number one. Number two, hyper focus. So obviously there is a natural hyper focus that autistic people have. And you know it when it happens to you. Like, let's say a new game comes out and 8 hours
You
pass and you've been playing the game.
only eight, yes.
Yeah.
How
How
kind of you?
delightful.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah,
Um, so that's when it happens naturally. One of the things I like about writing is you can cultivate hyper focus. This is one of the things I teach my clients to do. So, remember I said how I break it into a small assignment?
yeah.
And then I give it a really specific cutoff, like you've got 2 hours to work on this. Don't do
Hmm.
the best thing possible. Do the best thing possible you can do at that time. One of the things that regular writing assignments can do is teach you how to flip into hyper focus really quickly. And
That's a
so,
good thing for us.
yeah, especially because it can be really regulating
Yeah,
and, used healthy. It could also be used in a way that maybe we forget to eat and go to the bathroom.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but if we,
That's how Stephen King cranks out so many books. So yeah.
I, I do think that's true.
No, I'm saying that. Yeah,
Precisely.
yeah. That because you can't crank out that many books without being in a hyper focused state.
Yeah.
That's not.
And
And again, he's self medicated for years, so I strongly suspect it. But yeah, please continue.
yeah, if you are only going into hyper focus now at random times you can't control,
Yeah,
writing, if you are somebody that likes writing, can be a way to learn how to turn on and off your hyper focus.
yeah.
So when you have a timer and a deadline, which if you're working with me in the group that I'm doing this year, Neurodivergent Narratives, you're going to have a writing deadline. You're going to be able to post it if you want, or just post done and your word count. And you're going to leave monotropic focus and go do a little meat body maintenance. So, learning how to kind of set boundaries around when it's working for you and when it's not, that are really low stakes, because we're talking about a 500-word writing assignment or something.
Yeah.
So, also related to hyperfocus is my third reason, which is your special interest can become a narrative engine.
Ooh.
So, I love this band, Crowded House. There are 4 or 5 books that I have about Crowded House. I will tell you, every single one of them is written by fans. Every single one of them is written by an autistic fan.
Of course.
So anything that you are a super fan of, you writing about, first of all, you find an audience online. I mean, that was a lot of your early
Oh
work in
yeah.
Star Wars, right?
Yeah.
You will find an audience. And even if nobody reads it, it's so cathartic to just put your own thoughts down about your special interest.
Yeah, fun fact: you're in England. When I was a wee lad, I first got fame by making a Star Wars encyclopedia of all the characters, all the background characters in Star Wars. I got to be one of the top 50 Star Wars sites in England for some reason. And
Okay.
to this day, there are a lot of characters that I named and created profiles for that are considered real, like Garuf LaFoe, who is just quote unquote damn crazy. So yeah.
Yeah. So I love writing as an expression for your special interest. Obviously, a great expression for your special interest is a museum or a library, but writing is another way. Fan fiction has to be 80% neurodivergent.
Oh, gotta be. Yeah.
There's just no other way.
Yeah, because we
So,
live in that world and we want to continue our adventures in that world. And when we don't get the media that we need, we make it our damn selves.
right, correct. If you're anything like me, online quizzes might be your guilty pleasure. That's why I am so excited to announce the Autistic Culture Quiz. It's fast, it's fun, and it's pretty to look at. But best of all, it might just change how you see yourself. Take it right now at bit.ly/autistic culture quiz. If you've ever felt like you just get autistic culture, but you don't know how to explain it, this quiz will help you explain autism from a non-medical perspective. Each question is based on one of the 10 pillars of autistic culture. Take the quiz now and improve your cultural competency. It's totally free. Just go to bit.ly/autistic culture quiz. And autistic culture quiz is all one word, all lowercase. This is the way. All right, number 4. This is, I think, an interesting one, and that is sensory processing. So I have this thing that I teach that is called Your Author Mojo. This is step 4 in my difference process.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that I teach this is you do a whole bunch of writing tests for me in different rooms in your house, wearing different clothes, with different lighting, with different beverages, with different temperatures in the room. And we assess by the quality and quantity of your writing what your author mojo is. What's your ideal sensory processing environment
I like
for
that.
writing?
That's a good
Yeah.
idea.
And so I am sure Stephen King knows what his is, even though I haven't taught him author mojo. He has a thing. Maybe it's that he sits in different places, but he has a thing that he does. He has types of clothes he wears. He has a drink that he drinks. He has a way he does it. And
Oh
the
yeah.
only way to know what that is to write regularly.
Yeah.
and to see if you're writing, let's say, an hour a week for a year. And you could always write more, but let's say you're focusing on writing an hour a week for a year and you're noticing your sensory environment. That gives you an opportunity to try it with noise canceling headphones, with natural light, writing by hand. I cannot write by hand at all. I'm completely dyspraxic. I would
Oh
write
God, yes.
nothing if I had to write by hand.
Yeah.
But
Clumsy
writing by
meat body.
hand versus talk to type. Is that what it's called? Talk to type?
Yeah. Talk to text.
Speech,
Yeah. Yeah.
speech
Speak.
to
Yeah.
text,
Dictation
speech to
software.
text. Yes, that.
That's the thing.
Versus
Words make
typing.
things good
Words
now.
make things do, say. So for me, I love typing. Like that's just my, so I don't need to change that. I don't need to fix that. But you need to find what that is for you in
Hmm.
all these different levels. And when your sensory stuff comes up, what happens? Is that why you sometimes stop writing? How can you prepare for that ahead of time? And say we'll talk in a second about executive functioning, which is my next one.
Oh yeah.
But but in general, if there is, so there, I have no idea why, there's some nuclear bomb alarm that goes off once a month in my town in England. It's
The fuck?
it's a very loud alarm that goes through the whole city. It is, I want to say it's on the 15th of each month at 3 p.m. We have a nuclear something processing facility nearby, and it's just a test. If there was a real one, it would be followed by instructions, I guess, to leave. I think I'm at Chernobyl. I don't know what's happening.
Yeah. If it was a real one, everything would be vaporized before the alarm could go off. Maybe.
Or income. I don't know what they're telling me with this. I'm sure it's just like a dumb neurotypical thing that they do because someone said they were supposed to do. They've been doing it for like 20 years. Every single time it goes off, the second thing it happens is the Facebook and all the WhatsApp channels go off with people saying, "What's that sound?" And
Yeah.
then the town has taken to the series of the funniest memes that answer "What's that sound?" but wrong answers only, because literally on the 15th of the month at 3 p.m., like whoever is new in town or visiting town asks, and then it's preposterous answers. All of this is very fucking distracting. And I do not schedule writing in that time block.
Yeah. Good
It's
reason.
not happening. It's not going to happen for me. There's no way around it. I can't not look at the funny memes. I cannot relive the Chernobyl documentaries that I've watched. I have to like think about all the various things that could happen if there were a nuclear. Then I have to think about the fucking Russia and the war in Ukraine. Like, I don't understand,
Yeah.
but my brain can't just have an alarm go off. I think other people in the town are like, oh, an alarm. We'll just ignore it. People just keep selling you cheese or whatever.
When I lived in Bardstown as recently as last week, there
Oh,
was an alarm every Wednesday night at 6. There was just a regular tornado siren, and my son didn't know what it was. And I said, "Oh, that's the chicken nugget siren. It's the sign that you need to go eat chicken." And then, so therefore, he really looked forward to the siren every Wednesday at 6. He said, "Oh, there's the chicken siren. It's time to eat chicken." And we had to get our chicken nuggets ready, and it made it a very enjoyable thing for him. So, wrong
maybe
answers
I
only.
need to wrong answers only. Oh, now I know what I'm going to say on the 15th when it goes
Yeah,
off. I have my
yeah.
answer prepared.
There you go.
We'll come with a McDonald's chicken nuggets image.
Exactly.
Um, yes. So, we often, writers will often go to like a writing workshop, and we're in a room with uncomfortable like wedding chairs, fluorescent lighting,
Oh,
maybe a
fun.
hundred people, really like I don't know, strange hotel perfumes, and they always have like little candies so that you can unwrap a candy, so the person next to you is unwrapping their little mint whatever the hell thing.
That seems like a living hell, but go on.
Yeah, not a great sensory environment for you to write in.
No, no, not
Probably,
at all.
my autistic friend. And so knowing, and not just knowing, but owning your, I call it your author mojo, but your sensory profile for writing is really key. And that is one of the keys to my success. I'm never going to write in an environment like that. So, okay, next one is navigating executive functioning and demand avoidance.
Ooh, yeah.
Okay, so demand avoidance is a big issue with writers. Because I give you a prompt or because I tell you when something's due, some of your brains will decide they don't want to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. It shall not be done in any way, shape, or form. You can't make me la 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 la.
So, I have a couple tricks for this.
Oh
And
yeah.
my main trick for this is good, then don't do it. It's just writing. Like, it doesn't matter. I don't actually care. It's not like we're doing brain surgery on babies or something.
That
But,
would be much more important. Yes.
but allow yourself to think out what you're going to write in advance, what you will write if you feel like it.
Mm-hmm.
And then when it's time for you to write, if you don't want to write that, all you have to do is ask yourself if you want to write something else.
Oh, I like that.
And if you don't, that's okay. Sometimes the way I get to my writing, I end up writing something completely different, but I mapped out another thing that got me to the second place. So I used to, this was like a hack in one of my corporate jobs, is I could never get my boss to give me information for a press release. So I just give him a wrong press release and then he would immediately correct it. So sometimes you have to give your brain the wrong prompt. So I'm going to give.
How wrong was the press release? I mean,
Yeah, like I
was
would
it
be like,
book revealing tomorrow or attention all Godzilla is back? You know what to do.
yeah, well, these were software press release. So I would be like, this was coded by a team of 300 engineers. Like, I don't know how many engineers there were. I just took the last one and I would put random guesses. And they would be wrong and he would be annoyed, but he would fix it because he was so annoyed. So sometimes you can make your demand avoidance work for you. Every week I'm going to give you a writing prompt. And
Yeah.
you could do this for yourself. I mean, there's just Google writing prompt and one will come up. But if you don't want to write that, but it makes you mad and something else comes up, like, I don't want to write that. I'd much rather write about My Little Pony. Great. That's your new writing prompt.
Yeah.
Whatever is the yes, finding your yes, because this is your writing. Owning that is really, really key. So, same thing with executive functioning challenges. You're going to have challenges writing with certain executive functioning, planning that out ahead of time, what you're going to need. For instance, always having a drink, having the right chair, things like that. Identifying those are going to help you in other ways.
I like that. That's a very autistic friendly viewpoint to get you into that monotropic flow. You absolutely need to have your other stuff taken care of because otherwise you're just going to sit there and suffer.
I don't like it when people teach it separately, like in and of itself. I need there to be a why. And the why
Yes.
is you have a writing assignment.
Yeah.
So now you're doing it for a reason.
I like that.
Okay, number 7 is identity.
Oh.
I have found my identity so much through writing. We're going to be doing a lot of autobiographical and memoir work, or even fictional work that's really characters that are really about you. And there's stuff you do that you know, but when you have to think it out in the context of other characters or of a book, you will learn so much about your identity, which will make you a much more pleasant person to be around when you know what you want and you could be more clear.
It's very cool.
I feel like you do that in therapy.
Yeah.
Like your therapist sort of reflects back to you. I remember my therapist reflecting back to me things about myself, and I was like, me? That? I didn't see myself that way. But then when she said it, I could see it when it happened during the week.
Yeah, yeah, that's the oh man, active listening. It's where you use the phrase. So what I hear you saying is
Right.
that you prefer it when people don't meet your needs because that gives you a chance to be rejected. Is that true? And they're like,
That
well,
is
I do. Oh,
exactly the kind of shit
fuck.
my therapist said.
Yeah, yeah. It's
Exactly. Were you spying?
yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
yeah,
That was like one of the big ones. She's like, "Oh, so you just reject yourself first so other people don't have to."
yeah.
Or she's
It's much
like,
more. Yeah, go
"No, go
on.
ahead.
Oh,
You go."
it's much more effective when taking a beverage and then take a long drink of tea afterwards, because you say, "So yeah, it appears that you have unstable boundaries because you're afraid to be loved," and then you just take a
And then a
long drink of
sip.
tea. Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah. You got to do it with style. You can't just drop a truth bomb on somebody like that. You got to present it and have the. Yeah. That's what the people are paying me for, not the insight. They're paying for the presentation. So yeah,
okay, good to
yeah,
know.
yeah.
Well, here's how this happens in writing is you're writing about a character, you're writing about yourself in a story, and sometimes when you write it, you don't even realize the insight, and then you read it back and you're like, "Oh my god.
Yeah.
Here's this thing I didn't see." So it's so hard to have observations about ourselves, and writing gives you a little bit of distance
Hmm.
so you can have those epiphanies. The other thing is there will be options in my neurodivergent narratives group. You got to be careful with this, though. It's not always done in a safe way,
Yeah.
but there are options to share your writing where other people's reflections about your characters can give you those ahas.
Well,
Usually people are rough, though.
that's the thing. That's how Dan Harmon realized he was artistic, because he was like, "Yeah, I'm writing for this Abed character, and he's me." And we're like, "So you're autistic then?" He's like, "No, I'm not." Wait.
There we go.
You find out interesting aspects of yourself because one of your characters just happens to really like Harley Davidsons and has some mommy issues, and you say,
Yeah.
"Huh? How about that?"
Okay, number 9. I have 2 more. I'm looking at the clock.
Oh yes,
So number 9 is directness. We love direct communication. We
oh
know
god,
we have very different communication styles than holistic people, which is very frustrating all fucking day long dealing with liars.
yeah,
I know they don't think they're lying. It's lying in my book.
yes,
There is something very therapeutic about writing in a world where small talk doesn't exist. And I'll give you an example of this. One of my special interests is Aaron Sorkin, the playwright Aaron
yeah, yeah.
Sorkin.
Oh
And he
yeah,
also
West
wrote
Wing.
West Wing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's like
Prolific writer on his own
no
terms.
small talk whatsoever. Like if you
No,
want to
no.
see autistic communication, that is like an autistic dominant world. There are holistic people in it, but it's dominant autistic
Yeah, yeah,
communication. And this can be really healing to see what that world would feel like and put yourself in it. So putting clarity and truth over, I don't know, I guess it's ambiguous language where people have a way to get out of anything they commit to
yeah.
and still be able to call it clarity and truth, even though it's clearly not.
That's a cathartic and healing world where truth takes priority over all.
Yes. I love that in the book club. If you're a paid member, you can hear my review of Cassandra in Reverse and
Ah,
Holly Small, who did Geek Girl on
mm-hmm.
Netflix. She explores that in that book really well.
That's
So,
good.
okay. And my number 10 is alexithymia, maybe a little interoception here. But learning how to identify emotion and what I call throat clearing. So, throat clearing is generally not a good part of writing, but it's a necessary part of writing. Basically, in order to identify emotions for your characters, sometimes you have to write around it until you really get to it. And in that process of having space to explore what you're feeling or what your character's feeling in the writing, you will get better and better at identifying your own emotions. You'll start to see patterns reveal themselves. And your emotional expressions might not sound like holistic emotional expressions. And in writing, you create the world and the terms for what emotion is. So, was it Cassandra in Reverse? It might have been another Holly Small book, but there was one book I read recently where the character described emotions in colors.
I
Maybe they
like
were
that.
synesthete. It made sense to them. By the end of the
Yeah.
book, it made sense to me. Like a lot of times when we are asked what we're feeling, there's a prescribed answer that's the correct answer. But in
Yeah.
writing, you can create that context in the way that it works for you. Maybe the way you're feeling is chicken noodle soup. Fine. That can be a
Ah,
feeling
ooh,
within
that's a
your
good one. I
writing.
like that.
See what I mean?
Ooh, I like that a lot. That's very nice.
Yes. So this is why first of all, I love writing to make money. Love helping people write books that they're selling to traditional publishers or that they're using to grow their business. Like that's the business side of it. And it's good and I'm really good at it. But this project for me this year that I'm inviting everyone to come on with me, this project is really about becoming a better writer and exploring your creativity. And in there, I bet you'll find something that you want to publish or work on more or sell or whatever, but that's not the point. That's not the point. The point is to explore our creativity.
I
So
like that.
if you want to participate with us, this is for paid supporters only. So all you have to do, you can come anytime. There's no stop or start. You don't get in trouble if you miss a week or whatever. There's no order of events. Every week stands on its own. Just go to autisticculturepodcast.com. That'll take you to our Substack. If you're already a free member, you want to upgrade. So you could pay a discount. I think it's like 20% off if you do a 1-year membership, or you pay $8 a month. You will be in this virtual writing circle. Absolutely no pressure. If your PDA flares up and you don't want to write, no one's going to get mad at you. That's not the point. If you feel like writing, every week I'll give you a prompt, I'll give you a deadline, you'll submit your writing. There will be ground rules and I will be moderating, so no one will be mean to you. I promise that. But you will have the option to share your writing. I will give feedback. Other people in the group may choose to give feedback. I will have a structure around that so you're safe. And then here's the kind of fun thing. We're going to do an annual anthology. So it's called
Ooh,
the Neurodivergent Narratives Anthology. We're going to publish one a year. And any of the writing that you do this year that you want to submit, you can submit to be published in our anthology from the year. There's no cost. It'll be edited, it'll be designed. I have a lot of background in marketing books, so we'll get bestseller status. You can use it to help if you want to try and get a book deal later. Fiction, poetry, children's, anything goes. Submissions for the anthology will be as long as 5,000 words. But you could have multiple shorter, or you could have one long thing, but you'll have up to 5,000 words that you can use in the anthology if you want to be a part of it.
that's
So we're
cool.
going to publish that. You'll have it by Christmas. or maybe early January. And
That's really soon,
yeah,
especially by the time
no,
this
no, no,
podcast.
no, in a year, in a year.
Oh, okay, okay. I was like,
Yeah.
damn, you're fast. So yeah.
No, no, we're going to have a whole year to just play around and experiment. And every week there'll be a little 500 to 1500 word writing assignment that you can do or not do that will hopefully spark some ideas for you and just create a community for you to be a part of. Now, if you can't afford this, but you really, really want to do it, drop me an email. I can make a couple scholarships available to people who really want to do it, but have a hardship right now. And if it feels like too much or you hate groups, which I completely get 1000%, I hope you just got some ideas from this episode about why developing your writing process your way, no one telling you how to do it, can be really helpful.
I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah. So, anything that you would add as a therapist? Do you ever tell people to journal? Do you ever tell
Oh
people to
yeah.
write? What do you
I
think? How does it come up in therapy?
well. Okay, so as you know, I see autistic people.
Hmm.
Autistic people don't do things lightly. One of my favorite kids asked him, start writing. He decided to make his own Star Trek spinoff. Decided to make binders and show notes. He decided to
Great.
write 30 episodes of a Star Trek spinoff with himself as the main character.
I mean,
And
yeah.
yeah, so as one does. And another one, I was like, hey, perhaps you could journal. You might write poetry. Nah, no, poetry's for girls. And I was like, you could rap like Eminem. So he came in with his giant binder of all the raps that he wrote about, his life and love and his parents and everything. And he got really, really into it because again, it's a way of expressing yourself without the potential judgment from others. You get
Yeah.
it out. You again, like I was saying, you get it concrete and form these ideas so you understand yourself better. So yeah, it's a fantastic way to work. I very much recommend it from a therapeutic perspective.
When you're recommending it, like what kinds of things make you recommend writing? Just because I'm thinking as the listener here of like, who might this be good for or beneficial for? Like, when does it come up that you're like, you should try writing?
Anytime when they have a lot of thoughts or ideas that are too much for their head, I
Mm-hmm.
use the example of, well, especially like now with my move in the house, my garage is piled to the ceiling, but there's no way I'm going to be able to sort the stuff in the garage. I've got to get the stuff out of the garage, sort it out, and put it away where it needs to go. And if you've got all these thoughts and ideas and feelings and everything bouncing around your head and it's too crowded in your head, you need to get it out of your head so you can better sort it. So,
100%.
yeah.
100%. Absolutely. Um, Yeah. And I would say, like, any of those issues that you might be dealing with, our writing circle in particular is focused specifically on autistic issues, and it will be all autistic people. And all of the writing prompts will be autistic. So you can find writing prompts out there. Like you could buy a book of writing prompts or find free writing prompts online. You could definitely do what I'm doing on your own for free. This is going to be reflecting on some of your experiences as an autistic person living in a world that does not want us here,
Yeah.
and seeks to kill us on the daily. And so those prompts might bring up other stuff. It might not even be
Oh
that you
God, yes.
write to those prompts, but he's going to give you a space for processing not only the huge tons of stuff, the overloaded garage of ideas that our brains are,
Oh yeah.
but also some specific things you might still have internalized ableism about, or anger or grief or sadness that you haven't processed, giving you a place to process that. Obviously, therapy is a great place to process that. This is not a replacement for therapy, but just having an hour a week to do some self-care through writing.
At the very least, when you decide to go to therapy, you can present them with, your manuscripts. Say, here's the instruction manual on how to deal with me. And
Yeah,
here we are.
there you go. There you go. All right. Well, that is why I love writing, Matt, and I'm excited to share it with our community and our Neurodivergent Narratives virtual writing circle. More details are over on our Substack, and maybe you'll jump in on a prompt or two, Matt, and we'd love to see your writing.
I, I'd love to put something in there because I got a weird head. So
You
here we
do
go.
have a weird head. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Have a good one. Thanks for listening to the Autistic Culture Podcast Advocacy Edition.
Be sure to tune in for our Autistic Culture episodes every Tuesday, where we celebrate autistic contributions to society, culture, and history.
For even more autistic culture, consider becoming a paid member for exclusive perks, like live Q&A calls with us, a virtual writing circle, and our new Self-Defined Living course by Becca Laurie Hector.
Fun fact, Matt, it actually costs us $8 for every minute that people see or hear on the podcast. But our member pricing is just $8 a month.
What a bargain!
What a bargain! Buy 1 minute and get 500 minutes for free. Seriously, if you can afford this, we really appreciate your contribution. It makes all this possible.
And of course, the best way everyone can support what we are doing is to rate, review, share, and subscribe on Substack or your favorite podcast app.
This is the way.